Princess Diana was shopping at Harrods when she witnessed security guards publicly humiliating a young black woman, accusing her of theft without evidence. Everyone in the luxury store pretended not to notice. Then Diana walked over and said words that made the entire security team freeze. What exactly is happening here? What she discovered next would expose a systematic discrimination policy and spark a national conversation about racial profiling in Britain's most prestigious stores. March 1995. The afternoon sun filtered through Harrods' famous windows, casting golden light across displays of designer handbags and silk scarves. Princess Diana moved through the accessories department with practiced ease, Inspector Philip Wright following at a discreet distance. She dressed simply, navy blazer, white blouse, minimal jewelry, hoping to blend in as much as a globally recognized face could. She was looking for a birthday gift for a friend when she noticed the commotion near the perfume counter. A young black woman, maybe 23, stood frozen as a security guard blocked her path. Her shopping bag hung from one hand, the other clutched her purse protectively. "Miss, I need you to come with me," the guard said loudly enough that nearby shoppers turned to look. The woman's voice shook. "I haven't done anything wrong." "That's what they all say. We need to check your bag." Diana slowed her steps, watching. Something about the guard's aggressive posture, the woman's frightened face, felt deeply wrong. A second security guard joined the first, Duncan Ashford, according to his name badge. He was older, carried himself with the authority of someone who'd been doing this for years. "Miss Williams, we've had reports of suspicious behavior. You've been followed on CCTV touching multiple items without purchasing. We have the right to search your belongings." "I was shopping." The woman, Amara Williams, looked around desperately at the crowd forming. "I was just looking at things. That's what people do in shops." "That's what shoplifters do to conceal items," Ashford replied coldly. "Now cooperate or we'll call the police." Diana felt her chest tighten. She'd witnessed enough injustice to recognize it when she saw it. The guards' body language, their tone, the public humiliation. This wasn't about suspected theft. This was about power and prejudice. She walked toward the scene, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Inspector Wright moved to follow, but she waved him back slightly. "Excuse me," Diana said, her voice carrying the practiced authority that came from years of royal training. "What exactly is happening here?" Every head turned. The guard's expression shifted from aggressive certainty to startled recognition. Amara looked at Diana with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Duncan Ashford recovered first, smoothing his expression into professional courtesy. "Your Royal Highness, this doesn't concern." "I'm asking what's happening," Diana interrupted. "Why is this woman being detained?" "We have reason to believe she's concealed merchandise," Ashford said, his voice now measured. "It's standard security protocol." Diana looked at Amara, whose eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Have you taken anything?" "No, I swear I haven't. I was just looking at perfumes. I touched some bottles, but I didn't take anything. They can check my bag. There's nothing in it that I didn't pay for." Diana turned back to Ashford. "Then show me the evidence." "I'm sorry?" "You said there are reports of suspicious behavior. Show me the CCTV footage. Show me what makes you certain this woman is a thief." Ashford's jaw tightened. "With respect, Your Royal Highness, security matters are—" "I am not leaving until I see the evidence," Diana said quietly. "Either show me why you believe this woman is guilty, or let her go." A woman in an expensive suit hurried over. Patricia Rothwell, the store manager, her face tight with barely concealed panic at having Princess Diana involved in a security incident. "Your Royal Highness, I'm so sorry you've been disturbed. Perhaps we could discuss this in my office." "I'd like to see the security footage," Diana said. "Right now." Patricia glanced at Ashford, who looked like he'd swallowed something bitter. The crowd had grown larger, phones were being raised discreetly. This was becoming exactly the kind of scene Harrods tried to avoid. "Of course," Patricia said, "if you'll follow me." The security office was cramped, filled with monitors showing different areas of the store. Ashford pulled up the footage with obvious reluctance. Diana watched as Amara entered the store, walked through accessories, paused at the perfume counter, picked up several bottles, examined them, set them down. There, Ashford said, freezing the image. She's concealing something. Diana leaned closer. She's reading a label. She's looking around to see if anyone's watching. She's shopping in a store full of people. Of course she's looking around. Diana straightened. I don't see any theft on this footage. It's suspicious behavior. It's normal behavior, Diana corrected. This footage shows a woman shopping, nothing more. Patricia jumped in. Your Royal Highness, our security staff are trained to identify suspicious patterns. Sometimes these things aren't obvious to whom? Diana's voice had gone cold. People who aren't trained to see theft everywhere, or people who don't work in security? She turned to Amara, who stood near the door looking like she wanted to disappear. Have you been to this store before? Amara nodded. A few times, for special occasions. And have you ever been stopped before? Twice, Amara whispered. Once last year, once 6 months ago. Both times they searched my bags and found nothing. Diana looked at Ashford. 3 times. This woman has been stopped and searched 3 times and you've never found anything. At what point does it stop being security protocol and start being harassment? We treat all suspicious behavior equally. Do you? Diana pulled out her phone. Inspector Wright, could you come in here, please? Wright appeared in the doorway. How long have I been shopping today? About 40 minutes, ma'am. And in that time, I've touched numerous items without purchasing, moved between departments, put things back on shelves. Have I been followed by security? Wright's expression was carefully neutral. No, ma'am. Diana looked at Patricia. Why haven't I been stopped? I've engaged in exactly the same behavior as Miss Williams. The only difference I can see is the color of our skin. The room went very quiet. Patricia's face flushed. Your Royal Highness, that's not... We would never... Then explain to me why Miss Williams has been stopped 3 times for doing exactly what I've been doing for 40 minutes without any security interest whatsoever. No one answered. Diana turned to Amara. Would you like to file a complaint? Amara looked terrified. I just want to leave. Of course. But if you choose to make an official complaint, I'll ensure you have proper legal representation. She handed Amara a card with her private secretary's number written on it. Call that number. Someone will help you. As they left the security office, Diana stopped at the perfume counter. She picked up the bottle Amara had been examining, Chanel No. 5, and walked to the register. I'd like to purchase this, she said clearly, loudly enough for the gathering crowd to hear. And I'd like it sent to Miss Williams at whatever address she provides. The cashier looked stunned. Of course, Your Royal Highness. Diana turned to Amara. No one should feel unsafe shopping. This is a gift, not charity. You came here to shop, and you should leave with something beautiful. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she whispered. As Diana left Harrods, Inspector Wright spoke quietly. That was quite something, ma'am. That was wrong, Diana replied, and I'm not done with this. That evening, Diana made 2 calls. The first to Emma Bradford at The Guardian, the second to a solicitor she trusted who specialized in discrimination cases. Within 3 days, Emma published a carefully worded article. Questions raised about racial profiling at luxury retailers after Princess Diana witnesses security incident. The story spread quickly. Other women came forward, Black, Asian, Middle Eastern, all describing similar experiences at Harrods and other high-end stores. Being followed, being stopped, being publicly searched while white shoppers moved freely. Harrods issued a statement denying any discrimination, calling it unfortunate isolated incidents. Diana gave another interview, this time explicitly naming what she'd witnessed. It wasn't an isolated incident. It was systematic racial profiling disguised as security protocol. The public response was immediate. Some praised Diana for using her platform. Others accused her of overstepping, of making everything about race, of not understanding security challenges. But more women kept coming forward. The stories were remarkably consistent. Being followed from the moment they entered, being stopped for suspicious behavior, that white customers engaged in without consequence, being asked to prove they could afford items before even trying them on. Duncan Ashford was suspended pending investigation. Patricia Rothwell resigned, and Harrods was forced to commission an independent review of their security practices. The review found exactly what Diana had suspected: CCTV evidence showing security guards disproportionately targeting customers of color, following them more closely, stopping them with less evidence of actual suspicious behavior. Harrods issued a formal apology and implemented new training protocols, but Diana pushed for more. She organized a meeting with other major retailers, bringing in civil rights organizations, legal experts, and women who'd experienced discrimination. Not as a royal function, but as someone using her platform to demand change. "This isn't just about Harrods," she told the assembled group. "This is about a culture that treats some people as suspects simply because of how they look. That needs to change systemically." Several retailers agreed to review their security practices. Some didn't. Diana made note of which ones refused and quietly withdrew her patronage, making sure the press knew why. 3 months after the incident, Amara Williams gave her own interview. She had completed university, started working in marketing, and had become an advocate for retail workers and customers experiencing discrimination. "Princess Diana could have walked away," Amara said. "She could have pretended not to see what was happening. Instead, she saw me. She saw my humanity when security guards only saw suspicion. That moment changed my life." The bottle of Chanel No. 5 sat on Amara's dresser unopened. "It reminds me that when someone with power chooses to use it to protect the powerless, real change becomes possible." Diana and Amara met for tea several months later, away from cameras. They talked about the continued challenges, the backlash both had faced, the people who insisted discrimination wasn't real. "Some people say I'm too sensitive," Amara said, "that I should have just let them search my bag, that it wasn't a big deal." Diana shook her head. "It's never just about one bag search. It's about being treated as guilty until proven innocent over and over, simply because of how you look. That's not sensitivity. That's recognizing injustice." "Thank you for seeing it," Amara said quietly. "Thank you for having the courage to speak about it." The changes that followed weren't perfect. Discrimination didn't disappear. But major retailers across Britain implemented new policies about racial profiling. Security training included modules on bias, and complaint processes were established for customers who felt targeted. Years later, when people asked Diana about her most important interventions, she always included the Harrods incident. "I didn't do anything heroic," she'd say. "I just refused to look away when I saw injustice. That's not extraordinary. That's the minimum we should all do." But for Amara and the hundreds of other women who'd experienced similar treatment, Diana's intervention was far more than minimum. It was validation that their experiences were real, that they weren't imagining discrimination, that someone with influence believed them and was willing to fight for change. Duncan Ashford never returned to security work at Harrods. The investigation found a pattern of targeting customers of color going back years, with dozens of complaints that had been dismissed as sensitivity or misunderstandings. Patricia Rothwell's resignation was quietly arranged, though she later gave an interview claiming she'd been made a scapegoat for policies that came from higher up. She was probably right, which was why Diana continued pushing for systemic change rather than just individual accountability. The most significant change was cultural. Diana's intervention made it acceptable to name racial profiling publicly, to challenge it directly, to demand evidence rather than accepting security protocol as justification for discriminatory treatment. Other public figures began speaking up when they witnessed similar incidents. Stores became more careful, more aware that their security practices were being scrutinized not just for effectiveness, but for fairness. It wasn't a complete solution. Discrimination persisted, adapted, found new forms. But a line had been crossed. Behavior that once happened silently, unchallenged, was now subject to public accountability. Diana kept the receipt from the Chanel No. 5 purchase in her desk drawer. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. She'd spent $80 on perfume and sparked a national conversation that led to policy changes affecting millions of people. Sometimes the smallest acts, witnessing, speaking up, refusing to accept injustice, had the largest ripples. And sometimes being willing to use privilege to protect those without it was the most important thing someone with power could do. Amara Williams framed Emma Bradford's original Guardian article and hung it in her office. Not because it mentioned her name, but because it represented a moment when the truth was told, believed, and acted upon. People ask me what I learned from that day. Amara would later say in her own advocacy work, "I learned that silence protects the status quo. Speaking up disrupts it. And having allies willing to disrupt it with you, that's when real change becomes possible." The perfume bottle remained unopened on her dresser, a symbol of dignity recognized and defended. And every time Amara passed it, she remembered she had done nothing wrong, she had deserved respect all along, and sometimes it took someone else's voice to make the world listen. But she had found her own voice too, and now she used it to stand up for others who faced the same discrimination she'd experienced, paying forward the intervention that had changed her life.